clients are becoming very comprehensive. They want more than just one thing. 15, 20 years ago when we were at Merrill Lynch handwriting the tickets, they wanted an investment trade. That's not really what they want today, especially when we're getting into that next generation, the Gen 2, the Gen 3.
So clients walk into us and they say, here's my money, and we're listening for clues or keys on what their goals, needs, and objectives may be that they don't even know that they have.
Do you know where there were over 8,000 tax law changes last year? Do I think I know all 8,000? Absolutely not. But we have resources. We have the ability to go get them. And I think that's why this is going to be really, really cool.
It's time for another edition of the Financial Puzzle Playbook podcast with your host, Jim Sumpter. I'm RJ Malik, producer of this podcast. Jim, I see you have a guest today, so let's get to it. Introduce him and let us know what you'll be talking about on this edition of the Financial Puzzle Playbook podcast.
Thanks, RJ. Yes, I am super excited today to have a partner of mine, Mark Green, who we have alluded to a couple of times on the podcast, kind of teasing it, but he is in Birmingham this week, and super excited to have him here. So Mark and I'll let him kind of get into his story in just a second, but Mark and I started talking probably about 2.5 years ago. We've known each other for several years, about the possibility of would we ever be a fit for each other's practices. So I have a practice in Birmingham. He has a practice in Texas, and we are partnering on a lot of things. We're calling it a very strategic partnership. There's a lot of reasons that we're doing it. We've talked about the playbook and all of the various components of the financial puzzle playbook. There are very strategic reasons, and Mark brings a tremendous amount to the table. So welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us all about Texas?
I sure will. First and foremost, Jim, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be in Birmingham. I love being here. The RFG experience, it's like none other. I am, as Jim mentioned, Mark Green. I own my own firm in College Station, Texas, which is home of Texas A&M University, and that is in College Station, Texas. I have been in the business for 41 years, been around the block, as they say. I've been at large wirehouses and came over and started my own practice with my wife. She's also an owner in our practice, GFG Wealth Advisors, in May of 2019. And it's been a great transition. Being independent is like no other. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, Jim, you and I started talking probably about 2 years ago, but we've known each other since probably 2020 or so.
2020, yeah.
And we just kind of even then said, what if?
Yeah.
We hit it off, and we've always had a good time together. Our wives have good times together, and just seem to be like a natural fit.
Well, it's interesting because we've both seen this business evolve. At one point in time, we were both at Merrill Lynch. We did not know each other then. And you and I were actually talking I think it was dinner last night or lunch, about when we used to handwrite tickets. And then today we can place trades on our cell phone. And the evolution of this business and how it has evolved, which is one of the things I really kind of want to get into with this whole partnership, because we theoretically can do the same things. We theoretically own our own practices. Why in the world would two guys, one in Texas, one in Alabama, want to try to get together? What kind of was the precipitous that started everything?
I think it's just several things for me. It just made sense. As you alluded to, many years ago, gosh, too many to even count, I guess. We used to do trade tickets. You drop them off, you do the trade, ring the bell, the trade would get done. And just like the business has evolved, so have the clients. And there's so much more demands on our clients' lives now. How much money do I need to retire? How much money do I need for educational savings? What do I do about my tax dollars? How much do I need to save? How do I help my elderly parents, or how do I help my disabled child? There's so many things. And it's about capacity. Mm-hmm. How much capacity can one advisor take and manage effectively? I think there's a lot out there that manage, but maybe not as effective as what someone that's maximizing their capacity,
right,
or efficiently maximizing their capacity. And that's where you and I started talking. In Bryan College Station, we're having trouble with accountants. It's hard to find accountants that give tax advice. There's a lot of tax preparers, but what my clients are looking for are tax advisors. They want to know, okay, here's what we've had to pay this year. How do we prevent that for next year? Not just hand me your tax return, sign here and write the check, and here's how much we send to the IRS. And so we're looking for a tax advisor. And that's what really started our conversation was, Jim, I need a tax advisor. And you said, hey, Mark, I'll be glad to help you with that. But while I'm doing all these taxes, I need my clients taken care of too. So why don't you help us with the investments? And so that's kind of where we're maximizing our efficiency in helping our clients, and we are widening our capacity.
Right. Well, so let's break that down a little bit because, we've had Rick Waddell on the show before. You and I both have known Rick for many, many years. We truly believe in his philosophy of asset allocation, diversification, rebalancing, not putting all of your eggs in one basket, things like that. We do that with our clients. You do that with your clients, and you utilize Rick even more than we have. Talk a little bit about your investment philosophy, because there are so many different ways that you can invest.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you how I got to Rick in the first place. So in March of 2019, I came to RFG, what they call a VIP visit. I'm thinking about changing firms, thinking about starting my own practice. So they bring you in, they show you the firm, they show you all the different elements that go with RFG, all the different goods and services, technology stack, all of those things that you have the ability to use if you come over to RFG. And one of those was Rick Waddell, who's a portfolio manager. And so he comes in the room, and I say, Rick, as soon as he walks in, he says, hi, I'm Rick Waddell. I'm portfolio Chief Investment Officer for RFG Advisory. I manage portfolios. And I said, Rick, thanks for coming, but I'm not going to use you. He said, well, that's okay. That's fine. You don't have to. Just if you ever get the opportunity, give us a shot. So that was in March of 2019. I joined the firm in May of 2019. As I'm moving over all of my accounts and I'm doing my day-to-day where I'm managing accounts, trying to find the right investments, the right goods and services, the right widgets to bring to the table that best fits my client, and trying to service my clients and trying to keep up with their day-to-day, my day-to-day, run an independent business, I was running out of time. Again, we talk about it all comes back to capacity. And so in January of 2020, I decided, hey, I'm going to throw a bone at Rick and see how he does. Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, he's doing a little bit better than I am. And so I turned over a little more. And all of a sudden, my capacity opened wide open. And so when I did that, by him managing assets for me, it gave me more time to go and do the things that my clients really needed from me, which is talk to them, find out what's going on in their lives. They've got money in motion, whether it's due to a passing of a loved one, whether it's a retirement, whatever the case may be. So we bring those assets in, and then it's, okay, how do we invest this money? If Rick Waddell is not in my office, how do we invest that money? And so we sit down and we talk about risk. We talk about what's important to them. Is it important to leave a legacy? Is it important to spend all their money, write the last check on the way to the funeral home kind of thing? Or what's important to them? And then we back into a strategy that fits what they need.
So it's not cookie cutter. Even though you're using a professional money manager, you're not doing exactly the same thing for every client. You're doing based on what their goals and objectives are and their needs, and then making adjustments along the way.
100%. Yeah. We have, just like you, in our book, we have clients that need income.
Yeah.
And so there's income investments.
Right.
There's clients that want a little bit of income, but they want a little more growth. So we have kind of a balance.
Yeah.
And then we have clients that say, hey, I'm young enough, or I've got money stowed over here. I don't really want any income. Mm-hmm. I want you to grow my assets. And we have growth portfolios for that. So absolutely.
Right. So that's on the investment side. And we're going to peel back several layers of things that you've said. But what about on like the day-to-day cash management side? I know we've seen a lot of clients that had, money in CDs lately. They've, a CD comes due, they reinvest. Excel comes due, they reinvest. Well, now CD rates have gone down. And there's other opportunities of things that they might want to consider. So we talked about the investment side, the growthy side. What about let's back up a minute to the cash flow side of the playbook and talk about some of the cash flow management things that we can do that a lot of people don't really realize we can do.
Yeah. Well, and, to your point, CDs are great. There are parts in a portfolio or reasons why a client would want to have those in their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For the obvious reason, FDIC insured, you put the money in, you're going to get the money back with interest, but therein lies the problem is if you're using it as a cash flow tool, your cash flow better be 3 months or 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years down the road, because if you break into that CD, you're going to pay a penalty to get out, whether it's giving up some of the interest, whether I don't think you ever touch the principal, but you put your money in for 3 months, you take it out in 6 weeks, you've given up the interest.
Right.
And so you shouldn't have put it in there. Whereas in other places, you can be in a money market fund that's paying a little more. You've got liquidity in 2 to 3 days. There are those kind of options out there. Again, CDs have their place, but it does tie your money up. And there are places where you can put your money that it doesn't tie it up, but you're still getting a rate of return on your money as it sits there until you need it.
Right.
Hi everyone, I'm Cassidy, the second C in CMC Financial. So Dad sometimes gets on a roll with this podcast and might forget to remind you about a few things. 1, don't forget to like and share this podcast and leave a review. 2, follow CMC Financial on all of the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And 3, go check out the website at cmcfp.com. Okay, back to my dad. He's probably still talking.
So we've talked about cash flow. We've talked about investments. Let's talk about my favorite subject, tax and estate, probably your least favorite. But one of the things that I think clients are asking for more and more, demanding more, because you alluded to it, clients are becoming very comprehensive. They want more than just one thing. 15, 20 years ago when we were at Merrill Lynch handwriting the tickets, they wanted an investment trade. That's not really what they want today, especially when we're getting into that next generation, the Gen 2, the Gen 3. Let's talk about sort of how I came in and the tax planning, the estate planning, what you as an advisor on a day-to-day basis actually see and what clients are asking for.
Well, I like to say we're their financial doctor. And when a client walks into a doctor's office and they've got a cough, they don't have any idea why they have the cough. Do I have a cold? Do I have pneumonia? What do I have? Why do I have this cough? They don't even know why they have it, right? So clients walk into us and they say, here's my money. And we're listening for clues or keys on what their goals, needs, and objectives may be that they don't even know that they have. And so they come in and they say, okay, well, here's my money. And oh, by the way, last year I had to pay $3,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 in taxes. And this is, my investments at another place. And this is how we're allocated and all these kind of things. And we're listening. And we realize that, hey, here's their income. Maybe they're in a tax bracket where they should have been in municipal bonds instead of taxable bonds. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they paid income. They don't even know why, or taxes. They don't even know why they paid taxes. They just paid them. Mm-hmm. And so we're listening to that, and I'm thinking, well, they could really use a tax advisor. And so that's where this partnership came into play. Not only do I have clients that are asking, hey, I need a tax advisor, but I also have clients that are silently coming in and saying, I'm paying too much and I don't know why. Mm-hmm. And I'm picking up on that. And we want to provide the services that are necessary in order to meet our clients, again, goals, needs, and objectives, and help them with things that they don't even realize that they need.
Right. Let's talk about business owners. Does that bring in a different total level? And do you have business owners that you work with?
I do have some.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. My business owners, yes, they're in it for the business, but they also want to take care of their employees. Good employees, they want to attract good employees.
Sure.
So you start, you think about cash flow, obviously. You think about, okay, we've got excess cash. What do we do with it? Number one. Number two, I want to take care of my employees. So what do? Do you sell health insurance? No, we don't. But we can help you with a 401k plan. Mm-hmm. Do you want, and most business owners don't know, that's why they come to us. Do you want a safe harbor plan? Do you want to contribute want to match? Do you want loans on the plans? And then what's the best plan, most cost effective? Those are the kind of things that we do, that we listen for when we talk to our clients. Again, best, good, bring the best goods, services, and widgets, to our clients that they need.
Well, and the beauty about us both being with RFG is we have resources for all of those things. It may not be you or me. It may be that we have another area of RFG where we pull in someone else. It may be that I know the answer. It may be that you know the answer. That's why I think this partnership works, because we've both had enough experience, and I think experience does mean something. We both had enough experience. We've seen what I kind of call the good, the bad, the ugly, the really ugly, and the really, really good. And over your career, over my career, we've covered the breadth. There's not a whole lot out there that we haven't seen. Yeah. Rick, when Rick was on the show, he talked a lot about noise. There is always going to be noise. There's always going to be noise in tax law. I did a podcast probably a month ago where I sat in this room and I talked about all of the changes that are out in the news right now. And that was maybe, 7, 8. RJ and I had a conversation about 7 or 8 of them. Do you know where there were over 8,000 tax law changes last year? Wow. Do I think I know all 8,000? Absolutely not. But we have resources. We have the ability to go get them. And I think that's why this is going to be really, really cool. So,
no, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, along those same lines, if a client comes into me and says, I need tax help, and they want me to try to help them with taxes, we're in trouble. Okay, because that's not my forte. I know enough to be dangerous, maybe.
Right.
But by using cheat sheets and books and things.
Right.
But I'd much rather hand off to an expert. If my elbow hurts, I want to go to an elbow specialist. I don't want to go to my general practitioner.
Yeah.
And so along those lines, someone needs tax help. I want you as the tax person to help them with their taxes.
Right. Right. Or estate planning or whatever that case may be. And I think the way this works is that, I kind of like to think about it as a law firm. Someone may go into a certain attorney and work with that attorney. And then if that attorney hears that we need to bring in partners, then we can absolutely do that. That's what I've done with clients. That's what you'll do with clients. That's what we'll continue to do. And I think as we grow, as we evolve, as things happen, right now we have a strategic partnership. What does that look like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year from now? We have some ideas. We'll announce those as we're ready. But the one very common thing that we have is both of our wives do work in our teams.
Yeah.
And they do enjoy being around each other. And they have different strengths as well. And so they bring different aspects to our partnership and to our team. So I think we're doing a really good job of putting people in place to do that. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And Jim, to your point, I would say that, we can't be all things to all people.
Right.
But we can get a bunch of people to be things for a person.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the investment guy, you're the tax guy, you're the planning guy, maybe we have an insurance person, maybe we have a
employee benefits person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An attorney
Yeah.
that does estate planning
Yeah.
and transition and charitable trust and those sort of things. When we surround ourselves with those type of professionals, we're the quarterback, okay, or we're the coach. We get to call the play. And so the client comes to us and says, here's what I need. I say, okay, go see Jim Sumpter or go see, John Doe, who is the insurance guy that we have.
Right.
And we just are able to call the plays.
Right.
And we've got the team around us to help with all that.
Right. And I think that's what's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah. And again, it enlarges our capacity.
Yeah, it does. I think that's a good wrap up for the team. I do want to do just some rapid fire questions. And I tried to get, on this show, we've tried to do walk up songs. You've told me you don't have one. So, that's okay. That's
I'm a
okay.
musician, so it's hard for me to pick just one.
I understand. So what do you play?
Piano.
Okay. So that was my first rapid fire. What about
piano.
What about singing? I hear you're pretty good.
Oh, well,
Okay. Favorite color?
Oh gosh, that's hard. Probably, believe it or not, blue.
Blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say so.
All right. Here's one. I love this question. Is there a car that you've never owned, but you've always wished that you had owned?
Wow. It's going to be an exotic.
Okay.
I'll tell you
that's
that.
fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah. It's probably going to be somewhere along the lines of Lamborghini or Ferrari or something like that.
Okay. What color?
I'm not the wild color, like the bright red or the orange or the lime green.
Right.
I'm not that guy.
Right.
No, like right now, I drive a new Ford F-150 pickup truck.
Okay.
Lifted a little bit, and it's white with silver interior.
There
And
you
I
go.
love it.
Okay.
So I'm kind of a white.
Kind of a white guy.
Yeah, kind of white color.
Okay.
just because it looks clean without having to wash it.
I understand. All right. So I know your favorite college team is the Aggies.
Yes, sir.
What about baseball?
Pro baseball?
Pro baseball.
It's got to be the Rangers.
The Rangers.
Texas Rangers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And favorite pro football team?
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. True blue for life.
True blue for life, with or without Jerry Jones.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Now, quick story about that. And this will be one of my fun facts. I grew up a Steelers fan.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I get that.
I like you anyway.
So I grew up a Steelers fan. My grandparents were from Pittsburgh. And this was back in the days of Willie Stargell and with the Pirates, and then Mean Joe Green with the Steelers. So I was all things black and gold in Pittsburgh. Terry Bradshaw, back in the day. I didn't dislike the Cowboys, but then Jennifer, my wife, absolutely loves the Cowboys. So today I can be a Cowboys fan as well.
Very
and
good.
I can say true blue for life.
I'll give you a quick story. So I tell Sherry all the time that I married her because her grandfather had 8 season tickets for the Cowboys when I met her.
Okay.
And he, in 1960, he decided he was going to buy season tickets. He was a auto paint and body shop owner in Denton, Texas. He would drive in for the Cowboy games. Well, in 1960, as you know, there were 2 teams. There was one team, two teams, Cowboys and the Texans.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
He bought tickets to the Texans in 1960. They moved to Kansas City.
Okay.
And so in 61, he became a Cowboys owner.
Okay.
And so, because the Dallas Cowboys were the new team, right, in town. And so he made the wrong decision. Otherwise, he'd have been a charter owner of Dallas Cowboy tickets. But I tease her all the time. He had 8 seats, 4 of them right up against the press box where the announcers sit.
Wow.
And 4 right in front of that on the 45-yard line on the visitor side where the sun wasn't in your eyes.
Right.
We had front row parking.
Wow.
And I will tell you, we when Jerry Jones bought the team, we didn't renew because of the price and stuff. But he offered them to us. But it was like mortgaging a house.
Well, yeah, really.
It was crazy. But I tell her all the time. But we've stayed together all these years, even after the tickets were gone.
Even after the tickets were gone. So there must have been something there.
That's right.
All right. One more question for you. Last quick story before we wrap up. You mentioned broadcasting. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I know you have a little background in broadcasting. So tell us about that.
Okay. So probably since about 1996, I've been involved with high school football in Texas. And if you know anything about football, Texas high school football, pretty big deal. Last one out of town, turn off the lights.
Yeah, pretty big deal.
Yeah. And if you don't know about it, watch the movie Friday Night Lights or read the book.
That's right.
It's pretty close to true. And so I've been involved since about 1996. A good friend of mine, his name is Mike Wright. We went to church together. He was a choir director, and we were just talking one day, and he said, "Hey, you like high school football?" I said, "I love it." He said, "Well, I do Friday night football." He said, "I'd love to have you come and help us." And so I worked in the booth for a while, kind of running the controls and spotting and doing all that kind of stuff. And then one thing led to another. I became the color commentary. I've been doing that since probably 2001 or so. And so Friday night football, I would do a color commentary for the local radio station for one of the local high school football teams. But I retired last year.
Okay.
Sherry decided that she wanted to travel more and she didn't want to travel alone. And so I better either quit doing it, come go with her, or she's going to find someone that would go with her.
Right.
And so I decided to step aside. But then I guess it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago, Mike had got the opportunity to be the stadium announcer at Kyle Field, which is where Texas A&M plays their college football games. And he said, "Hey, I only want to do this if you'll come be my spotter." And so I was spotter for A&M football for 3 years before Mike took a job out of town. But, man, it was fun. I got to see the 7 overtime game with A&M and LSU, which A&M won, by the way. And, it's funny. My niece was in the stands. She was thinking about coming to A&M. And about the 4th overtime, she sends me a text and says, "Uncle Mark, are all the Aggie college games like this?" And so it's pretty exciting. But yeah, those were some great times.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty. We've all got stories, and as we evolve on this show, it'll more and more and more of those stories will come out. So
absolutely.
Well, RJ, that's what we have for today. Just I wanted to kind of introduce the partnership, introduce Mark. We've teased it a little bit, and then just really kind of some philosophy things, and then we ended on a good story. And I will say gig 'em one time
and I'll say roll tide
one time.
Okay, Mark, before you go, how about some contact information?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me. Our website is gfgwealth.com, and my email address will be on there, but it's M like Mark Green at gfgwealth.com, mgreen, gfgwealth.com. And then my direct phone number is 979-999-1861, and that's for phone call or text.
Excellent. Jim, your contact info?
Yep. So cmcfp.com is our website. I teased a couple of times ago our new tax website, which is tax.cmcfp.com. Got a lot of cool, really cool things, calculators, things of that nature. My direct number is 205-510-9074. And then I would just encourage everyone, we're on all the socials, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're trying to appease the younger crowd, and that's sort of the way they do that. So that is us, RJ.
That is excellent, Jim. It was enjoyable to listen to both of you go back and forth. And most importantly, thank you for listening to the Financial Puzzle Playbook podcast. We ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review because this actually helps others find the show. Again, thank you for listening. And for Jim and everyone at Financial Puzzle Playbook, I'm RJ Malik, and we'll see you at the next podcast.